Funding for this video is brought to you in part by Book of the Month and from viewers like you. Thank you. I'm officially stressed out. What's up, punks, and welcome to the video, or should I say welcome to my bookshelf. You're currently standing in front of every book that I have read, and they go up there even because those are all my graphic novels. Across from me is my TBR shelf, and today we are going to be organizing all of them. We moved into this apartment in just April of last year, so it hasn't been that long, and while there is some sort of rhyme or reason to this bookshelf, I knew for a fact that this was not going to be the end-all be-all organizational method that I would be subscribing to. So that's what we're going to be trying to figure out today, is how exactly we want to organize our books. Oh yeah, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Allie. Around these parts we balance daily life alongside disability, celebrate mundanity, and read a whole lot of books if that wasn't abhorrently obvious. I am so excited. I've been wanting to do this video for so long. I love organizing things. I love color coordinating things, love categorizing things. It's like my favorite thing to do. So we're in for a lot of fun today. However, really quickly, hey, Allie from the future, do you have the new Book of the Month books? Wonderful. Do you mind telling the people about today's sponsor? Great, here, let's. The sponsor of today's video is none other than Book of the Month, which is an online bookish subscription service that makes finding funky fresh reads an effortless endeavor. Their team sifts through all the books that are soon to be published and gives us a curated list of 5 to 7 titles to choose between each and every month. Not only are there unbeatable prices for hardcover fiction, but they also now have audiobooks if you prefer to read with your ears. My personal favorite part is their skip policy, because you can push pause on any month for any reason whatsoever without being questioned, charged, or penalized. And no exaggeration, this is my favorite month ever with them so far, and you will see why. Let's not waste any more time. These are the 2 picks that I picked for the month of January. The first one being The Fury by 𝍊🋼🍊🍊. This is a thriller about an ex-movie star who invites a bunch of friends to this secluded island, and we as readers are trapped there alongside of them, and some mysterious murders take place. In my last video we discussed my most anticipated books that will be published in 2024, and one of them is in the Book of the Month selections, and it is Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen. I think that this author is so skilled and talented. I read Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead last year. It's literary fiction full of phobias and paranoias. I love when anxiety is accurately repped on a page, so we will be immediately diving into her. So if you would like to read either of these 2 books or choose from their other January selections or their ever-long list of add-ons, then all you have to do is click the link in the description box below and use the code RESET, because you can get your first book from Book of the Month for just $5. $5 American dollars. That's cheaper than a cup of coffee these days. Truly a steal. Thank you so much, Book of the Month, for not only sponsoring this video, but for including 2 books that I have anticipated greatly. Now let's get back to organizing. And we're back. Let's talk TBR shelf. Right now, not only is it overflowing, but it's not really sticking to its categories. Like, for example, we've got some Moomin books spilling out over the top. The first shelf has a lot of nonfiction, but also some Dutch language books. The shelf underneath that, we technically have some graphic novels and comics, but also some Terry Pratchett is thrown on there. And then for the most part, we have general fiction. We've got a section for cozy fantasy in there somewhere. We kind of have all of our spooky books in a collection, and we sort of have all the Book of the Month books at the bottom. But for the most part, it is organized chaos. There are way too many knickknacks that have just been thrown on there, and I just want there to be a little more order to all of this, preferably. On top of that, I have a TBR box, like one of those little crates, and these are very aesthetic for Instagram and everything, but they really do not work for me. I always go to my TBR shelf to read books, and if I have books separate from said shelf, I forget about them. So these books that have been in this crate, I've been wanting to read, but they have not changed at all in many months because I just forget that they're there. I also have some books for videos or our book club. They've just been on the radiator, so then they're in their own section, but I just want to put everything together. Right next to my TBR shelf, we have a new installment, which I'm so excited about. I really love the look of those chaotically stacked books that look like they could fall over at any moment. However, not only do I have cats, I have a blind cat, so they really need to actually be properly stacked. I've got these little shelves that will kind of mimic the book stack while having some sort of structure to it. They shouldn't fall over. I'm really excited about this. I ordered one more loose one that should be here in a couple days that will make it so the stack is level with the bookshelf, but for now, we can get started. This is gonna spread out my TBR so I can see all of the books that I can read, because right now we've got stacks in front of stacks, and it's been driving me bananas. Preferably for my TBR shelf, I want them to be genre specific. I want the cozy fantasies to be together. I want the nonfictions to all be together. I want everything to be where it belongs. And I do like the book of the month books to be together, so that will get its own section as well. Let's just get started. I think going in with a rough plan in my head is the best route here. I was gonna draw up a plan, but you never know the size and shapes of books. You never know how things are gonna fit and what the best way it's gonna work. You just have to do it. You know, I'm a kinesthetic learner, so let's just dive in, shall we? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this forever. Let's do it. Okay, so I started off by taking all of the knickknacks off of the TBR shelf just to get a better view of what we were working with here. And then decided that the best route for this chaotic stack is to actually not make it chaotic at all and to find books that are all similarly shaped. And so I started off with my book of the month books, which honestly consumed the majority of these floating shelves. And then until I get that last chunk, I decided to stop at the tippy top with my Dutch language books. And that pretty much filled it up to the top. Like the last floating shelf ends here and then there's just a couple on top. This is so satisfying. This looks so nice. And now we have basically an entire empty shelf. And I think now we can spread out the rest of our books to make a little bit more sense. And we can put the rogue books onto the TBR shelf as well. But first I think I'm gonna organize them into categories by genre because I want them to be as cohesive as possible. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm not entirely sure how these will be organized quite yet, but right now the graphic novel shelf is basically full. I think that the nonfiction shelf is overflowing, and we also have nonfiction, essays, poetry, but we also have all of these memoirs, which are also technically nonfiction. And so I would like for these to kind of be with the nonfiction, or maybe in their own section, but at least they're all together. And then here we've got general contemporary fiction, continuing on, general fiction. Here we sort of have all the cozier fantasies, cozier reads, Terry Pratchett, that type of thing. These are a couple of spooky books which lead us into other spooky books, but also a whole lot more contemporary fiction. And then these are kind of spookier things. I would like for them to not be stacked on stacked like this, more fiction. And then down here, I've kind of got series. I don't know if I'm ever going to read The Fairy Barn. I bought it for a silly video. I was going to compare newer smut to older smut, and I just don't know if I have it in me, but I also don't have it in me to unhaul them yet because I'm still super excited about the idea. But anyway, these are series. We've got the Six Crimson Cranes duology. We have the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I thought it could be fun to read those sometime in the winter to kind of trick my brain into thinking it's summer. We've got the Amari series, N.K. Jemisin. Oh, there's one missing. Oh my gosh, because I forgot about this shelf over here. These are all to be read, so we have more organizing to do. Okay, I'm officially stressed out. So first of all, there were 2 book of the month books in that TBR on that random shelf, so we had to redo the floating shelves. This is what we got now. It wasn't too bad. Our top shelf is now all nonfictions that ends in poetry. The second shelf is completely manga, graphic novels, and comics. The shelf underneath that are all memoirs, and then cozy fantasy, cozy sci-fi. But where we have hit a wall are the final 3 shelves. It's particularly the thriller and spooky book shelf that's driving me nuts because they're all such funky sizes. Like, they're so sillily sized. So stacking them isn't really working. Putting them side by side isn't really working. We have made some pretty good progress. I'm just starting to get a little bit nervous. Oh, and I just found a bunch of cozy fantasies. Oh no. Hello, welcome to day 2. It got dark yesterday because it's winter and we live in Belgium and that's just the way it is. It's still dark because it's winter and we live in Belgium and that's just the way it is. So we couldn't knock out this organization in one swoop, but you know what? That might be for the best. We'll do a big fat tour at the end. Do not fret. As you can see, we moved some of the silly shaped thrillers and horror books to this shelf because it just simply was not fitting. This is very satisfying to me. This already looks so different when I walk into my office. You get that nice feeling of, ooh, things are clean, things are organized, things are put away. I haven't put the knickknacks up yet because I'm not 100% sure which knickknacks are gonna go where in the end. Today, we tackle the big red shelf. As of right now, we have all of our graphic novels and comics on the tippy top because a lot of those are even more sillily shaped, so they need as much headroom as possible. Below that, we have non-fictions and they are overflowing, so I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with that quite yet. Then we have my favorite shelf, and at the moment, I have a shelf for books and authors that I want to buy more from, like books that really impressed me, authors that I don't want to miss any new releases, things like that. Below that, I have series and fantasy. I'm not too crazy about this setup either because I'm not the biggest fantasy girl. Like the Priority of the Orange Tree books, front and center. You know, I didn't even really like those that much. Sorry, very controversial. Speaking of controversial, I think the most controversial part of this shelf is the fact that I have rainbow shelves. I know, there's a lot of rainbow shelf haters out there, but I think that the hate is unfounded. What about series? You just make a series shelf. What about the books that go together? You put them together. It's not that complicated. I think the biggest reason that I'm very defensive about rainbow shelves is that most people, you know, the average citizen doesn't have 800 books, okay? So if they have a small bookshelf and they want to put it in rainbow order, you know that they're not confused and unable to find their books. You're just mad because it reminds you of millennial core, and that's just very strange to me. How angry people get about millennials being happy about stuff, like get a hobby. Anyway, I'm getting rid of it. Honey? I'm just here to say that I'm not getting rid of it because I hate it. It's just that now I have a lot of books, and so it isn't the most practical way to organize things.
You've got a big storm coming.
I think the best way to organize is by genre and then by author. The bookshelves that will be staying are the graphic novels and my favorite shelf. Those probably won't change too much. Perhaps I'll straighten them up a bit. But after we straighten those up, I'm gonna have to just take all the books off and organize them by genre. Whew, so let's do that. Starting with making the graphic novel shelf a little more aesthetically pleasing. Does that sound good? Let's do it. Okay, so now I have all of my non-fictions here, and I'm thinking that I'm gonna move the fantasy type stuff up here because the fantasy shelves, they're not overflowing. But none of these fantasy books are really that tall. And this is a very tall setup. They're not all evenly spaced. And if I'm going to move some of my non-fictions down here, I fear that some of them may be too tall. I just know that I need to save some of the taller, chunkier shelves, especially like book of the month books. They don't fit on these shorter shelves. So if I'm moving my fantasy up here and then moving my contemporary fictions kind of up a little bit, I'm gonna have to completely empty this entire shelf and start from absolute scratch. Whew! So let's do that. Do you want to see my nonfiction piles? So here and here I have memoirs. Then we've got poetry. Look, it's my friend Sally. Oh, my friends are so talented. We've got like political philosophy type books all here. There's some environmental books in there. Here we have health and psychology books. And then I would like these to be next to my nonfiction autistic books and disability books. These would go well together. This is just like veganism animal books. I don't know. I am warm. I'm out of breath, and we've just begun. I'm so out of breath. Stepping up and down this little step stool, it's quite a lot. Okay, this is gonna be really nice when it's done. We just have to get there. We just have to get to the done. Let's empty this whole thing and dust it all and make a plan and hope that the plan works. Here's my current plan. I think a good place to start is that I want the bottom shelf to be spooky, thrillery type books because most of those are black and they just sort of darken up the shelves. So if they have their own little section at the bottom. Also, I'm not usually reaching for thrillers and spooky books to reference or find quotes from. However, non-fictions definitely, lit fictions definitely. So this is quite a project, isn't it? Let's see how things fit. It's gonna be a lot of trial and error. So this is what it's looking like so far. I'm going to be honest, I kind of hate it. This is depressing to me. This is very sterile to me. I am going to finish because most of my super colorful books technically aren't on the shelf yet. All of my contemporary fiction. I'm going to now alphabetize my general fiction books. We'll see how that goes. So far, you guessed it, nothing else is alphabetized. This shelf is alphabetized. My featured favorite non-favorites. It's mostly by size. I forget how much I love things to kind of line up. But organizing by genre should make it make a lot more sense. I don't know. It's your bookshelf. You organize it how you want. This is how I'm doing it so far. Okay, let's alphabetize. Okay, we've got our books in alphabetical order. Can you tell that I am sore and tired? We are so close to the end. I think what I'm going to do is just throw these on the shelf, see how they fit, and then we'll sleep on it to see if we absolutely hate it. I need to go back to Rainbow. Very curious to see what this looks like. Let's do it. This is not working. It's just not working. So the thing is when you organize by color and then size, you have a bunch of books that are the same size. And so then you can stack them. And when you stack books that are all the same size, you save so much space. When they're all standing up like this, they do not fit, which is very silly because this bookshelf used to have an entire naked shelf. It had a full shelf for possibilities. Now, because they're all standing upright, because they're all different sizes, in different colors, because we're organizing by author name, this is a disaster. I do not like this at all. I do not like this at all, actually. Look, I get that it bothers a lot of people, but honestly, maybe it's just because I've been organizing them by color for so long. I think this will actually slow me down in finding books. And they don't even fit. This will not work. Can you hear the cogs of my brain machine churning and turning? This is stressing me out. Not only do we have 3 stacks about this big that have no place, this current setup does not allow for any new books to be read. You know what I mean? So we're gonna have to figure out a way to condense and consolidate this bookshelf a lot better. We need to make some stacks. We do. But yeah, I think for now, we need to take a break on this because it's been many hours. My back hurts, my brain hurts, and I'm slightly discouraged. Let's check back in tomorrow. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I can't stand it, and I hate it. Hi, welcome to this bookshelf. I've been thinking, y'all, and I've come to the conclusion that, sure, yeah, maybe organizing by author makes sense on paper, but it doesn't make sense for my brain. This is so chaotic looking. My biggest gripe, I think, is that it's not by size. I have always been a size bookshelf organizer. I'm genuinely stressed out just looking at this. This is not right. This is not correct. I was in such a bad mood for the entire rest of my yesterday because this just wasn't right. I was the little nun from Madeline, and my brain just kept going, something is not right. This is all wrong. And at the end of the day, this is my girl room, this is my office, and I don't care what weird bullies on the internet have to say. If rainbow organization works for my brain, that's fine. I'm the one who has to find my books, not people who will never step foot in this room. So this is what we've got right now, okay? The top shelf graphic novels, she's looking superb. It'll stay. Then we've got our fantasy series. I'm not too crazy about shelf number 2. We might switch that up a little bit. Our favorite shelf, we figured it out a while ago. It just looks nice. She'll stay. I'm not too crazy about other series shelf, but it's fine as well. It's fine. What really is not working for me is this chaotic fiction situation. So what I think I'm actually going to do, I am going to move my poetry and memoir shelf to the bottom and then still have the 3 nonfictions stacked on top of each other nicely, and then move the 3 fiction shelves over to the left and organize them by size and color. I love when my shelves decrescendo, you know, or there's like a little statement of some taller books. But just constantly doing this, oh, I hate it. I'm sorry. I don't hate it on other people's shelves. And that's what makes me the least understanding of people who get so upset about other people's shelves. If I walked into somebody's room and it looked like this, I would be so thrilled because it's exciting. Books are gonna be pretty no matter what. But for me, just marinating in it and functionally using it, it's just not for me. Anyway, that's the plan. Okay, that's the plan today. Size, color, switch shelves around, do a little bit of condensing, do a little bit of stacking, and make it look nice. We're going to finish this today. Also, the last invisible shelf is arriving today, so we can see what we can do with that, and hopefully we will have a final bookshelf tour possibility. This is stressful. I thought I could do this in a day. It's day 3. It's also the ickiest weather possible to show off how beautiful these bookshelves could be because the lighting in here is atrocious. But you know what? You win some, you lose most. Let's put our hair into sports mode. Let's figure this out. Let's do this. Ah! We did it. It looks so much better this way, in my opinion. You can have your opinion, but I like this so much more. We've got our 3 shelves of general fiction in rainbow order and size order. This really works because you can fit so many more books because you can stack books that are all the same size. It also just looks so much more condensed and nice to me. I don't know. This just works for me. I really like this so far. I think it leaves a lot of room for reading more books. All that's left is putting the knickknacks back onto all of these shelves. So I think that's what we're gonna do now. And then at the very end, we will do a shelf by shelf tour. The worst part is over. I'm so glad that we got rid of that alphabetical nonsense. This just really works for my brain. Oh. I love my bookshelf. Let's knick-knack it up. Hello. Our organization was filmed over a month ago. We finally got it all edited. I think everything is as it is meant to be in its final form, at least for now. Of course, the more we read things, the more this is gonna move, but as of today, January 2024, this is what we're working with. Starting with what the TBR looked like before. And this is what the TBR looks like now. I'm definitely super pleased with the floating shelves. I think it looks really cool. However, it is not the most space-friendly option. One shelf alone of my regular shelf took up about half of an entire wall of the floating shelves, but I do like the way it looks. On the top, we have our non-fictions leading into poetry. The shelf below that, of course, our comics and graphic novel collection. Just below that, we have our memoirs, which are technically nonfiction, but they definitely needed their own section. And next to that, we have cozy fantasies and things like that. I do believe that these are my 2 favorite things to read. I love a good memoir and I love a good cozy book. So I love that right in the middle of the TBR shelf, we've got my favorite things to gravitate towards. Below that, we have 2 shelves of general fiction. And on the very, very bottom shelf, we have some general fiction continued, but mostly series and things like that. I'm so excited that there is no stacking at the present time. Everything can be seen visibly, clearly. I love it. I'm very grateful. That's the TBR shelf. We did it. So let's look at what the red shelf looked like before. And after hours and hours of trials and tribulations, this is what it looks like now. We tried quite a few different organization options and we landed on some individual shelves for different categories, but for the most part, the general fiction is in rainbow order and size, so then things can fit better. When you have a book collection this big in such a small space, you gotta make some cuts, you gotta do some things that might not be a little conventional. I am sorry, rainbow shelf haters. So on the top, as the same, we have our graphic novels, but they are greatly improved, much more organized. Below that, we have our series shelves. On the left, they are more for a younger demographic, and on the right, we have the more adult fiction. Below that is my favorite shelf, and next to that are series that aren't fantasy series. So we've got our Moomin books, we have our Ali Smith books, Before the Coffee Gets Cold books, that type of thing. Below that very shelf are my very much enjoyed books. Not quite favorites, but still like books that I would definitely recommend to people, favorite authors, favorite flavors. And then to the left, below the favorite shelf, next to the books I really liked, we've got 4 shelves of contemporary fiction in rainbow order leading into white, and then at the bottom we have all of our spooky books together. Most of the black books are down here. To the right, we do have some more black books that I didn't necessarily know where to put, so I just kind of continued them on the bottom, and then to the right of that we have memoirs that I have read. These memoirs continue up to my nonfiction shelves. So we've got 2 nice little stacks of memoir books leading into all of our lovely nonfictions. On the top nonfiction shelf, we sort of have psychology and feelings types books leading into our autism books. Below that, we have more political, philosophical books, as well as some poetry thrown in there. And there you have it. Those are my bookshelves as of right now. I am so satisfied that this is done. This room was starting to get a little too chaotic for me, and now it is looking nice. I am so sunshined up. Would you look at that? Anyway, I'm gonna get going. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope maybe you can use it for some body doubling if you want to organize something yourself or clean something yourself. And that is that. We will be returning next week with a regular vlog, do a nice little personal, resty reset type situation. Speaking of reset, Haha. Thank you so much, Book of the Month, for sponsoring today's video. You can get your first book through Book of the Month for just $5 using the code RESET. I'm literally going to go read interesting facts about space right now. So I'm out of here, and as always, thank you for clicking, thank you for caring, and thank you for being nice. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!